Welcome to the H4RL Teen Podcast Career Series. I'm Jill.
I'm Dave.
And this first episode is a chance for us to just tell you a little bit more about the story of H4RL, why we started H4RL.com, and why we're here on this podcast. So it really starts off with us talking with a lot of our friends and their teens and hearing about what a struggle it was for them to choose a career path. A lot of them were getting ready to graduate high school, and they were all starting to feel that panicky feeling of, what do I want to do with my life? And everybody's asking them this, and they're like, I just hate when people ask because I don't know.
Not even just them, but also our own friends who had already chosen their career and were into their careers. Were wishing like, man, I wish I would have known so much more about the career I chose before I chose it, because I may not have chosen the same career. We started realizing there has to be a way to help teens who are deciding their careers to figure this out before they make this, go to college or whatever they decide to do, and make these lifelong decisions that will impact them for a very, very long time.
Right. We really were hearing from two sides at the same time. We were hearing from these teens who are right at the beginning, the perfect time to be making the decision, and had no clue what to do. And then we're hearing from people more our age who are like, man, I wish I would have known. Wish I would have looked into this a little more before I picked my career. And Dave and I realized, when we stopped and thought about it, we realized, gosh, I kind of wish I had thought about my career a little more as well.
Oh, for sure.
I'm a teacher.
I'm an engineer.
And they're, in many ways, great careers and really good fits for us. But at the same time, there are some things we wish we would have known, and maybe some other careers we would have wanted to consider had we even known that they existed, or how to go about doing those. And so we started realizing that there really was a need for people to learn what careers really were about and hear more about these careers before they started making plans for the rest of their life. These, you can change later, but it gets harder. The older you get, the harder it is. And so these really are lifelong decisions, or at least life-changing decisions that you're making in your teenage years about your future.
So what we first thought about doing was to just get interviews. Actually, just capture people we know, our friends, our colleagues, just get their stories, right?
We wanted to find out about their careers.
Their careers and why they chose them, and basically the good and the bad about the career, and maybe what they might have done differently. But as we started doing these interviews, we started realizing there's a lot more to picking a career than just hey, what do I want to be when I grow up, or watching a video online. Mm-hmm. By the way, a 5-minute interview online is not the best way to pick a career. There's a lot more that goes into figuring this stuff out.
They're a great first step.
Absolutely.
It's great to watch those videos, and that's why we've put them in our career database that we have on H4RL.com. We'll tell you about a little bit later.
Right.
Those videos are a great first step.
Absolutely.
But if you watch that and you think, ooh, that sounds interesting, and you plan your career path off of that, you've skipped a few steps.
Yes, there's a couple steps there. So then we started realizing, we need to have more resources besides just having interviews. So we started digging into this. We did a lot of research. Talking to college admissions officers.
Yeah, we went and talked to them. The people who review your college applications and decide whether you get in, we went and talked to them.
Read a ton of books on this. Read a lot of things online. We actually went on other career exploration courses out there, obviously. But we started realizing there's actually issues with all of them, honestly. So
yeah, we wanted to see what is the process. Mm-hmm. What should you do? How do you figure this out? And there are some good things out there, but the problem is they're either spread all over the place, and you kind of have to know what you're doing to find them, and it's going to take a lot of time to find all these different resources and then figure out how to bring it all together and get to know yourself and figure out how you fit into that picture. And if you want somebody who's done all that for you, you're going to pay a ton of money.
Yeah.
That's what we found out. You're either going to spend a lot of time or you're going to spend a lot of money.
Or you're going to be on your own. Because a lot of them was here, just something online, and you're just swimming on your own, just trying to figure out what to do with all this information.
Well, that's what we found out, is most people, they don't have the time and the money, so they're not doing it. And so what do they have? regret.
Yeah.
They're lost and they regret their choices often, or at least experience a huge delay in life while they try and figure it out. So we thought there's got to be a better way. Let's put it together.
But a couple interesting facts that we found while we were researching this was opened our mind to like
it was worse than we thought.
How big of a problem this is. Did you know like 43% of people don't finish a 4-year degree in 6 years. So that means it's taking you at least 50% longer to get that 4-year degree, which is one reason why it's adding up,
tons of debt.
Tons of debt because you're spending
paid for 6 years of college when you were already worried about paying for 4.
And knowing
now you don't even have the degree to help pay it back.
And the average cost of one credit hour in college, which almost every class is at least 3 to 5 credit hours, is $600. $600 per credit hour is what the average cost of, some are less, some are way more, but that's about the average.
So waiting to figure it out while you're in college is really expensive.
The other thing we found out is like 80% of students change their major at least once.
I did.
Yeah, I did too, by the way. So, but it was honestly, we're a little bit older, so it was less expensive back then. So we could go ahead and take our time while we were in college. Now, unfortunately, it's a lot more expensive, so you can do that, but you probably will end up paying more for it, as the statistics show. And on top of that, we also found out that 61% of people who are already graduated, who are out there in the working force, wish they would have did a different major. Mm-hmm. And less than 10%, around 10 to 15% actually feel like they have a job that actually uses their strengths.
Right, which is so sad. Yeah. Because when our job uses our strength, we feel better about what we're doing. We're excited because we know we can go and make an impact. So, yeah, we realized the situation was pretty dire, and we wanted to create something to help people with that.
So we created the career course, which we'll talk about that maybe a little bit later. But really what the point of this podcast is we actually wanted to get out there and kind of start answering a lot of these questions that we get. We made the career course initially, and we actually started doing that pre-COVID and did a live class, got tons of great feedback. People loved it. They thought it was great. Like they had tried a lot of different options and said, this makes sense. This whole process kind of makes sense on how you do this.
Finally, it all is coming together.
We made some nice tools, and I'm an engineer. I made some nice tools to help guide you through this process because it can be difficult and it can be ambiguous, right? Not quite knowing how to get there. So honestly, when you're an engineer and you're doing design work is actually very ambiguous. There's a lot of different paths you can go. You have to find a way to get there. Well, I use some of those techniques, by the way, that we use in the engineering world to help develop tools to help you navigate this unknown. And we put that in our career course. But then COVID did hit right in the middle of doing that, by the way. So we had to go online. The whole course
turned out to be such a great thing.
Right. Because what we found out is you can do it live, and it's great to have the interaction, but people's schedules are hard, right? Because we're all so busy.
Yes, it was very limiting. So we had people who were missing weeks because they just weren't available at that specific time, or they got sick and they couldn't come, right? And so then they also were limited to our schedule. They couldn't work ahead. They had to keep up. And so we realized that going online, H4RL.com, would allow people to have access to all of this on their own schedule. But still, we can show up on a regular basis and talk with you about where you're at and your next steps. So we can engage with you, and you can go as fast or as slow as works out for you and watch the videos and explore the resources on your own time, whenever it's convenient for you.
It'd be great for you to come over and check out the website and see what we have there. But you're going to see it says Homeschool for Real Life. And we absolutely started this off for homeschool students. And it is absolutely great for homeschool students. But it's also just fine for traditional school.
There's a little bit of a bigger vision behind the Homeschool for Real Life. Since I am a teacher and I love educating my kids and I want to help other people do that, we plan to have some things on there for parents working with younger students and things as well. So that's where the homeschool part comes from. But all the career stuff, it's the same process, whether you are a public school student, private school, homeschool, whether you're in your 20s and you're still trying to figure it out. It works for everybody, the career course and this podcast. It's going to be relevant for anybody in the situation of trying to figure out your future.
So we want to answer some questions such as like, how do I pick the right major for myself on this podcast? We're going to talk about that. Or how do I minimize? I didn't say get rid of completely, but minimize my college debt. Mm-hmm. We're going to talk a little bit about that.
And explore careers.
One thing we're really passionate about, we actually really like talking to people about their careers. Mm-hmm. Some people like, I know it's kind of weird, but it's perfect for us, all right? We like to talk to people about their careers. What we found out was like, it'd be really awesome to basically, one, explore a lot of, like, talk about different careers here on this podcast, because we found that a lot of teens just don't understand how many careers there are out there. Did you know that?
I still don't know about most of the careers out there.
Did you know, like, literally about 60% of people, actually, 60% of, like, students all pick the same top 10 majors. And there are literally thousands of different careers out there that you can have. I think I read a statistic one time, like I think like Indeed or something like that had like over 30,000 different job postings or types of job postings on their website. Now, a lot of those job titles might be different titles for the same type of career, but there's literally thousands of different types of careers you can have. Mm-hmm. So that's the problem. Everybody's picking the same 10.
They're picking what they know.
Yeah, what they know. If your dad's an engineer, you're more likely to be an engineer. If your mom's a teacher or your dad's a teacher, you're very likely to go into teaching.
You can't pick a job you've never heard of.
Right.
And you're not going to pick it if you hear of it and it's totally unfamiliar.
I was all over the place. I literally had 10 different careers I was thinking about doing coming out of high school. I'm right there with you guys. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had no idea. And guess what?
I had options that were pretty widespread across the board.
But college was lower cost back then, and it took me a couple of years to kind of figure out what I wanted to do, and I did waste some classes I took I didn't necessarily need to take, and I did waste some money. But guess what? I became an engineer. An engineer was not one of the top 10 that I was thinking about out of high school, because I didn't know any engineers growing up. I didn't know what they did. I had no idea. And then when I got into college and I started taking some classes and I talked to some people, I kind of figured out what engineering does. And I'm actually good at math and science, and it's been a good fit for me. But again, it was lower cost back then, and I could take a little bit of time. And it did take me longer.
Well,
it took me almost 6 years to graduate.
Yeah.
It almost took 6 years for me to graduate my 4-year degree.
Absolutely. And thankfully, we also just happened to make some really smart decisions along with our uncertainty that helped us to find some good paths and avoid too much debt and too big of a delay. We made some other decisions that it turns out were really smart. And so we'll talk about those on the podcast too.
But we want to help focus on these careers, not just talk randomly, because there are lots of videos out there about just different careers. We kind of want to focus it more on, like, there's a lot of issues in this world. I don't want to say problems, but there are issues. Like, there's the social issues, right, that people are fighting. There's like technology issues, right? There's environmental issues. We all know about them, right? There are a lot of really interesting careers out there actually already working to solve those. And quite honestly, it's going to be the next generation. Our generation somewhat, but the next generations who are really going to have to solve these problems. So we thought about, let's kind of highlight some of these problems, all right? And talk about the careers that are involved with solving them to kind of, one, educate you guys about like who's doing what out there. And eventually, I don't know if we'll ever get to this point, but I would love to actually get some of these people on with us and talk to us about what they're doing. But we'll see if it goes anywhere with there.
There really are opportunities, tons of opportunities out there really to literally save the world in so many different ways.
Yes.
And when you find something that you're passionate about like that, and
yeah.
I can't say that. When you find something you're really passionate about like that, it's very motivating. Mm-hmm. And it makes you want to get started.
It does. And that's actually one thing that's awesome. Once you find your niche, the one thing that you're, one, good at, two, that you're interested in, and three, have really good strengths related to and fits everything else that you're looking for in a career, you get motivated. And so then all the steps it takes to get there, whether that's going to be college or this other career path, you are more motivated to do those things. So then school becomes more relevant and you become more motivated for school because you see an end goal. So we're going to talk about that. But yeah, we really want to talk about careers, kind of just, explore them, talk about what's out there and some of the interesting problems. So that's eventually where we're going to go. But the first couple of these podcasts, we're going to probably try to address some of the bigger questions. Please visit us at H4RL.com and
H4RL.com.
And you can actually send us an email, the contact link right there at the top. And if you have questions that you want us to address on our podcast, just put down podcast questions and we'll get those and we'll try to address them on here.
Yeah, we would absolutely love to hear from you. And we're so excited about all of the things we're going to be able to talk about with you in the next few podcasts. It's going to be great.
So if you want to hear more about these and be alerted when we do this, we'll probably try to start putting these out about once every 2 weeks is our goal. We're both very busy in what we're doing, but we're going to try to put these out once every 2 weeks. Hit the subscribe button below if you're on YouTube. If you find this on any one of your podcasts, give us a 5-star rating or, give us a thumbs up. Really, it helps us get noticed and let other people find us as well. And tell other people, by the way. Word of mouth is also great.
Please.
Yeah, please. We're new.
It's not easy getting started.
No, let them know and just spread the word. And we'd love to hear from you on our website, or even come check it out and join our community. We'd love to have you in our career exploration course where we will talk to you on live Q&As. So
right now there's a free trial.
Yep. So anyway, this is our first episode, so we don't want to keep this too long. We can keep these kind of short, relatively speaking, but we'll check us out next week or so. Hopefully another podcast will be coming out. Or again, hit that subscribe button and you'll be alerted when we post a new one.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, and we look forward to helping you plan a great future.